Hi, this is Maggie, and we're here to finish off the videos for our cross-stitch design from a chart sew along that we're having over in the Facebook group. You can follow these instructions whether or not we've finished our sew along. If you do, we would love to see some pictures and have you pop into the group and let us know how you're doing. So what happened? An important thing, I'm going to back up a little bit here, is if you are seeing these videos, please watch them in order. There's a part 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's also a 3A and a bunch of tips, and you really want to see those to learn how to use the cross-stitch module. And this is the module of MySewKnit embroidery software. Okay, and in YouTube, I have set up a playlist, so they're all in one place if you look for them. Now, those of you in the Facebook group know I kind of jumped the gun here in that I wanted you to see a stitch out, and I stitched out my chart, and I forgot to add the vines because we left off with adding the crosses. And this is something that we're going to start right in on. The other thing you'll notice is I did put a key design around the edge that is not part of the pattern, and I will not give intensive instructions on how to do that in the video. I'll just point you in the right direction, we'll say. So let's get started on our chart. And some of you, I'm happy to say, have been able to go ahead and add the vines and show us your stitch outs. And we're so happy to see that. Okay, I click Create. See, that's the tab here. And I am on a Mac. Now, if you're on a Windows computer, your commands are the exact same. They're just most likely at the top instead of on the side. Your symbols are the same. So if you have any trouble at all, we'll give you a picture and put a big circle on it and tell you where to find it on your screen. Now what we're adding is the vines. All the other crosses have been added in the earlier videos. And we're going to do that with freehand backstitch. And we're going to do that in green. And now freehand backstitch works by dragging your cursor. It's a drag movement. I'm going to hit Command Z for undo, Command Z for undo for that. Now I did do a little tip video and go into this in a little bit more detail, but the thing about freehand backstitch is people think of freehand that you can place points. You can't. It only works with a drag. It will erase on point. Like if I hit erase and I just get near it, I can erase it. Now, the other thing about it is it doesn't do a curve. If I go this way, it's always, see how it's that line? No matter which way I go with the cursor, I'm not making a curve. So if I want a circle, I have to do a lot of little itty bitty drags. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and erase that. And this was done in sections, and you'll notice that the cursor has the symbol for the freehand backstitch and erase. Now the other thing is, here's my chart, here are the vines. It is much easier to do, much easier to do if you zoom in. Because see, now we can see the little pieces of straight bits that we want to copy. And I am set on, see the cursor? I am set on freehand backstitch, and it's a black color, so I just drag. And that one came a little bit up. Now, I'm not going to worry about getting these exact because they're swirly. And because this was a hand stitched chart and our freehand back stitch that we showed you in earlier videos only moves in certain places on a square. So she might have been able to do something for people who hand stitch that the program won't do. It will get very close, but you notice that went a little bit up. Instead of starting right there, it went more to the halfway mark on the block. And I drag there, and I drag there. Again, it's just the swirly effect of the vines that I'm going for. So I'm not going to get overly worried if it's not exactly on the line. And again, it goes along the edge of a square or the halfway markers. It kind of doesn't go thirds. And that one could have been straighter, but I'm not going to worry about it. So there's that. Now, if I wanted to, I could erase because see, this has a point here, and do those again. Do this as a side, and do it down to there. Do that down to there. And you have that kind of hand look little choppy vine. Now again, it's easy when it's along the edge, but you're not going to get it exactly if it's not in the places that the program is happy to go. And that one I'll fix later. And again, I'm just drag your mouse, drag. Sometimes you see that end go, where do I get to be before it lets go? And I'm not even worrying too much about making this exactly along here. If I was confused, I could even blow it up more. I'm going to do just a little bit more there. And you see I have a little space here and a little space there, so I'm going to zoom in again and make sure I want my lines to connect. And I want this to connect down to, well, it's going to go sideways. And the rest of this should come down to where the crosses are. This should come down to where that is. Okay, that's good enough. And these all connected. That's close enough for me. And now we're going to do this one. Up there. And you can look at the chart in your manual or in the earlier video when I showed you the stitches. If you get, I'm going to back that. We showed you the stitches that it can do, and it only works on certain parts of the squares. Kind of doesn't do thirds, it does halves and quarters. You can get there or there. I'll go down lower. I wanted that one there, so let's erase that. Bing! And was there something else I wanted to erase down there? I was thinking of making this one how it's supposed to be. Turn the eraser off. I want them to connect this to here. So you drag and you have to release each time. So you're doing this in sections. I wanted this one to be at an angle. Now it can come up to here and drag and release. Drag and release. Whoops. It's lower than I want. I can actually hit undo, which is a little bit easier, especially because it looks like I got rid of this one too. Oh, I still have erase on. See, it's the red marker. I always forget to turn erase off. There we go. There. Drag, 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 drag. This one is going to come through here. That's sort of a straight bit. So I'm curving this one more than it was just because of that little straight bit there, which maybe I want to do in 2 parts. And I'll take the eraser off. So I'll go here, and I wanted this to curve more. So those will make me happy. I think those will look pretty good. I still don't like this one. I want it to curve down, so I want to come here. That's why, because it can only go down or halfway. That's why I keep not getting the angle I want. So maybe I want to erase this guy to angle them all a little bit more. I want a little bit of an angle. It didn't really angle the way I wanted, but let's see. I'm gonna try. See if I can bring this down a little. There we go. Nope, see the color periodically, and I don't know why, it sometimes automatically changes to what you were last doing. Oops, I'm still on. With that color. And again, so you can just go back and forth and play. Take the eraser off. I don't want that, I want it over a little. See, this is where it doesn't do. Again, getting a straight line, but we'll do a little twirl up so there's still a curve. Okay, that's going to add something nice. Now, before I export, I always check design properties. We set it up at the beginning with the 2mm cross, and that's what I'm doing. You don't select hoop because we did the crosses, the size. You can select hoop when you're, say I've been selecting hoop if I'm going to do lettering, write Merry Christmas and crosses or something. But when you're loading a chart, it's best to stick with using the cross squares, the number of them as your height and width, and we covered that earlier. This automatically defaults to 2 threads, and I've been stitching a lot of mine at 4 threads, and the sample picture that I showed you was at 4 threads, and you can pick that up. Now this will be denser. If you go with crosses that are less than 2mm, maybe you want to stick with 2 threads. Or say some of you have seen the Ukrainian native costumes where they embroider all over their sleeves and along the front of basically, usually I see it on white cotton material. And if you're using it on something you're going to use for a blouse, you want it to be lighter, and you would stick with 2 threads. And maybe even the crosses a little bit bigger so that you don't have as dense a stitch out. Now, if you're doing a mug rug or a placemat or a banner hanging, you can make it really dense. So it's up to you, and we are marking and putting all different pictures and comparisons over in the Facebook group, so you can go take a look and see what kind of look you like and how dense you want your stitch out to be. So again, always before I export, I check the design properties, check that I have the cross size I want, and I often put it in the title. You'll see it says 2mm cross. This one says 2 threads, although I'm pretty sure I stitched the final at 4. And see, that's how, so maybe I did stitch the final at 2. I'll have to recheck that, sorry folks. But usually I put it in the title so I know, especially because I was putting pictures on Facebook, and I have some that are 3mm crosses that are definitely 4 threads, and 2mm crosses that are 4 threads. So I might have kept that one for 2 as a comparison of the 2 to 4, and I'll have to go look at my notes. Alrighty, so now that we've checked the design properties, and I had already deleted, that little trash can there, the blue thread that always comes on things, now you want to export. Again, this is like working in digitizing, that this is not yet a stitch file for the machine. So we're going to export it, and we're going to choose, if you have a Husqvarna Viking, you might want the VP3. If you have a Bernina or Baby Lock and you want Pez or Jeff or Janome, whatever, you have your choices. I'll stick with the VP3. I usually turn color sort off, and to tell you the truth, I keep color sort off in configure. It's showing here because I reset the module, so you'll see the kind of thing you might see on your own computer. But you do have the option to keep color sort off in configure, and that way, if you do in the hoop designs from a vendor, or even some of the vendor designs, they deliberately stitch the same color in 2 different places because they want one on top of some other things, and if you color sort, you'll lose that. So I turn it off, and when I have something that I've worked on that I know I want to color sort, then I turn it on. But your default will be on, so always check color sort. This is where especially beginners get messed up a lot on their purchased designs, that it color sorts for them, and they didn't realize that happens. So those are the only things I have to worry about. I always keep optimized stitch length on. If I've seen some historical customers, costumers, not customers, costumers who do really long stitch lengths to mimic a hand look of certain pieces. And for those, they would take optimized stitch length off, although generally it's just getting rid of little bits that appear here and there in your program. And where do I want it? I'll let this one go to desktop. I can put it wherever I want. I actually, in truth, keep most, see, I have this October stock cross stitch project, and that's where I'm keeping most of my files. So we'll actually put it there, and it's kept on iCloud so that I don't have to worry about losing. And I do want to replace the old one. The old one was the one without my pretty little vines. So that's what we wanted to show you as far as how to get from loading a chart to looking at it to getting it all the way to export. And if you have questions, we've been talking about stabilizers and material and all that kind of stuff over in the Facebook group. So join us there for more information about your stitch out.